You have found what lights you up. I'm your host, Sunny the Life Coach, and I'm here because I see you searching for something or someone out there to help you feel better. Something to take away the pain that you're feeling, the inadequacies. I know all of the things that happen in life can leave you feeling empty. Your search is over. This podcast is all about finding your own freedom and power to love yourself enough to shine in the ways you were always meant to, the ways in which you are already fully capable of. If you're ready for some real talk, some serious truth bombs, and a few F-bombs, you are in the right place. Let's do this. Let's get lit. Hey there and welcome. I appreciate you pressing play today whenever or wherever you may be. If you have not heard my last episode, which was a conversation with author Lauren Duke, I highly encourage you to check it out. It really was quite fantastic, all things considered. So many great things have come of it already. Certainly for me and also for others. I had a dear friend call me over the weekend to tell me that she had listened and how much it resonated with her. She told me about how she is currently doing the work that Lauren was suggesting during our conversation, which, trying not to drop spoilers if you haven't heard it yet, we do go into how to reconnect to your body. So many of us are completely disconnected and being led around by our minds and incessant brain chatter and always worrying about what everyone else thinks. That we have lost connection with our intuitive nature, that which is built into our nervous system. And that resonates with me too, and I am also on that path. I will tell you this, I honestly didn't expect our talk would go where it did. I am so grateful that it unfolded the way it was meant to because I had no expectations and I just allowed it to be what it needed to be. And that's definitely a topic for a future episode, the whole concept of allowing. Anyway, back to my quick chat with my friend. She asked me how I found Lauren Duke, and the truth is that she found me, not Lauren herself, but a member of her team reached out to me and said, "You'll want to interview this person in January when her book is published." I read over what the book was about. I said, absolutely, this sounds perfect. And a few days later, the book was on my doorstep and time was scheduled on our calendars. The rest is history. It's when things like this happen that I am reminded that there are no accidents. And along the path of our journey, there are so many signs if you are open to receiving them. And that's what I want to talk about today because signs have been so prevalent in my life lately. So, here's your sign. You are meant to hear this episode. Now, you may have looked at the title and made an association with the comedian Bill Engvall and his famous stand-up bits about handing people a sign when they ask stupid questions. I love a good stand-up bit. And while that came to mind for me too, I'm actually going to flip the meaning around. Here's the sign you asked for. From the divine, from source, from God, creator, great spirit, there are no stupid questions. Not for what I'm talking about here today, anyway. What I'm talking about is signs are everywhere if you are willing to see them. Yes, we are going there. And they might show up in your inbox or even on your doorstep. They might show up when you're out for a walk or driving around running errands, checking the clock, or even scrolling social media. Yeah, they can really show up anywhere and take any form. So the first thing I want you to consider when you're thinking about signs is to be open to any possibility. That's it. Just be open to it. I see that as the first step, really, if we're thinking about it in terms of steps, which many of us do because of our conditioning. If we think of it in terms of steps, I would say open your heart, your mind, and your soul to receive any sign, period. That is where you start. That may not be as simple as it sounds when you put it into practice, because your mind is always going to want to step in and try to control the outcome. Letting go of that might feel a bit foreign to you in the beginning, but it is necessary, and quite frankly, it is freeing to let go. Not always easy, but definitely, ultimately, freeing. You may need to practice a little bit with this concept of letting go, which is also allowing. Don't judge yourself in the process. Be patient and have compassion. By the way, the things I'm telling you here are really a download from the universe, and I take these messages for myself. At the same time, I am relaying them to you. That's where I am on my journey, tapping into my own intuition while simultaneously sharing it with you. This is a beautiful experience, and I am here for it. So let go of any expectations as to how this is going to play out for you, and just allow whatever comes through and whatever form that it takes to be as perfect as it will be. And next, ask a question. What is it that you want to know? Like a popular question in the realm of manifesting, for example, is, am I on the right track? And that is used in combination with visualizing what you want to see that will represent an affirmative, a yes, an absolutely, most definitely type of confirmation. This can be anything. However, you should choose something that you're not likely to see in everyday life. Like, if you live in the suburbs, as I do, don't choose an Amazon Prime truck as your sign. Of course, you're going to see that 17 times per day. In fact, that's actually tragic. Choose something a little more obscure, and don't overthink it. Don't try to rationalize or make sense of it. The best approach is to close your eyes and go with the first thing that comes to mind. It can be an animal, a shape, a number, whatever comes to you. Then you can close it all out with a little prayer to whomever you choose. I will say something along the lines of, thank you, universe, for showing me my sign that I am moving in the right direction. And then let it go. Don't try to seek it out. If you choose a number, don't try to anticipate what time it will be when you look at the clock. Like 1111 is a popular number because of its divine meaning. And I see that one a lot in my daily life, but I only see it when I'm not looking for it. Just put it out of your mind and go on about your life. Okay, so 4 simple, yet maybe not so simple steps. Number 1, be open to receive. Number 2, ask a question. Number 3, choose the thing that will be your sign. Number 4, let go and allow whatever will or will not be shown to you. Now, some of you may say, number 3 should come before number 2. I don't care. Make it your own. Take these steps in whatever way feels right for you. And that last part is important, because if you do not see your sign, that last part being let go and allow whatever will or will not be shown to you, if you do not see your sign, that is also a message. That means you are likely not on the right path and you might have more work to do. And the other part to that final step is that there is no timeline. Letting go means releasing any expectations that you may have about when or where your sign will appear. I'm talking about a complete release here. Let go of any part of you that wants to control this. So important. Now, let me give you some more recent examples of how I have been connecting with universe, spirit guides, and divine energy. We don't always have to ask for our signs. Sometimes something will appear in your life and you get an intuitive hit that this is a message. If that's what you feel, then that's what it is, my friend. This morning, a hawk appeared perched on a tree outside of our windows. My husband and I both watched it for a while. It was hanging out on the top branches of one of the largest trees lining the creek that runs behind our house. It's our green space and it's beautiful. Of course we see birds in those trees all the time, but a hawk is a rare and special visit. So I did some quick research into the spiritual meaning of a hawk. It was so good and in alignment with the work I've been doing on myself lately. My instinct was to first check the Native American meaning because it just felt right to go in that direction. In that context, the hawk symbolized giving and receiving messages from the spirit realm, keeping a bond with the spirits that give guidance, healing, and warnings. Perfect. I like being bonded to those spirits. Then, specifically, a hawk appearing near your home relates to the energy of your root chakra and awareness, to the manifestations that can happen near and around the home. It is a particularly positive sign for those working from home and self-employed. Well, hello. That would be my husband and me. Fantastic. Other meanings, spiritual meanings of the hawk include evolution, transformation, spiritual connection, wisdom, independence, freedom, purpose, balance, patience, intuitive decision making, growth, protection, vision. Love every single bit of this. And I wouldn't choose a hawk as a sign if we were still living in our house in Lexington, Kentucky. We backed up to green space there too. It's what we do when we're in the suburbs. Make sure that we have green space behind us. And there was in that one a 100-year-old sycamore tree that just held all of the birds. Both vultures and hawks loved to gather in that tree. And we would sit on the back deck, my husband and I, for hours and just enjoy them flying overhead back and forth to that tree. And many times they would glide very low over the pergola where we would sit, so low you could see their eyes. It was wild and beautiful. And I know that we both felt very connected to those birds. So I wouldn't have picked a hawk as a sign. Back then, it was something that I saw every day. But today, yeah, they are not as prevalent in our space now, which is partly why I think King called me over to see, because this hawk was just basking in the sunlight, looking regal, and seemed like appearing as a visitor, and viewing it in that way was everything. And taking it a step further and considering what it represents, now that is where the magic happens, isn't it? It sure is for me. It would be perfectly acceptable, for lack of a better word, for me to pick the hawk as a sign today, to ask a question and center for just a moment on the visual image of a hawk as being the sign of confirmation, then letting it go with the knowing that it will appear in its time or not. Then you may ask how much time to give it. Well, that's up to you, but remember, this is the part over which you have no control, so don't even try. Don't try to set a limit on it, like show me by the end of the day or within the next 48 hours. That's a little bit of forcing, maybe a lot. Don't bring that energy to it. Just allow and forget about it. Also, when you choose something like an animal, be aware that it may not take physical form. It could appear as an image in your social media feed or even in your dreams. Take any version of what you asked to see as confirmation. Fun story. Another dear friend was playing around with this concept last year, and she asked to see a fox. Now, she lives in a remote area where the opportunity to see wildlife is a daily occurrence, so she had in her mind, set on seeing a real live fox. Well, one day she got on our Marco Polo group thread and was giving us updates about how she hadn't yet seen her fox. Instead, she demonstrated a whole damn pile of images of foxes. Things like someone sent her a card or letter, and on the envelope was a fox sticker. And she received a postcard ad for some business, and the logo was a fox. And the grandparents sent her kids a new book that had a fox as a character on the cover. Stuff like that. I mean, she literally had about half a dozen examples, but she wasn't accepting them because none of those examples were the living, breathing animal. Listen, images, postcards, logos, billboards, books, those count too. The universe is going to send you the message in whatever way it can. Accept however it is delivered. Here's your sign. Another thing that I've mentioned recently that I'm going to share a little more with you here today is my experience in playing with, experimenting with oracle cards more frequently than I have in the past. I love to use the word play. playful. That reminds me of fun and childlike, something to look forward to. How long has it been for you? I have accumulated several decks now and have like 3 or 4 that are my favorite, and about 4 more that I'm still dabbling with and learning more about. And this month in particular, I have been consulting them every morning as part of my routine. And those 3 or 4 that are my current favorites. Right after meditation, just a brief meditation, I will listen to some focus music, something instrumental so I don't get distracted, and then get quiet and I ask my question for the day and I pull a card from each deck. I'm not making this up. Every time I have done this, the messages from each deck will align. And I have been more frequently pulling the same cards. For example, one of those decks is called the Starseed Oracle. And I have pulled the 7 Star Sisters card about 4 times this month so far. And we're halfway through. It represents birthing creations, tapestry of life, expression. Oh, that's pretty amazing, because it usually comes up when I am asking a question about what I am being called to create from my coaching business. I think I got it twice in 1 week, and then I sprinkled in a couple of other times it showed up. Another of my favorite decks is the Yogic Path. And that's the first deck I ever bought. This one incorporates representations on the cards of yoga, Ayurveda, spirituality, and deities. I think those are the categories. Oh, also chakras. But I don't break them into those categories. I keep all of the cards together. I shuffle them and spread them out into a fan, and I choose the one that I'm drawn to, like pulled to. Last week I pulled the Satya yoga card 2 days in a row. Now, the first day it was in reverse, so the message was a little different, but the very next day I pulled it again upright. This had to do with truth, authenticity. What masks am I still wearing to make me feel loved, secure, significant? Such great questions. And it also had to do with peeling off the layers of inauthenticity. Through this shedding, finally feeling truth's bare skin. Whew, that hit me in some kind of way, because I'm about to tell you about the Angels and Ancestors deck, which has blown my ever-loving mind, and here's why. That's the one where I didn't just draw the same card during the same week, but I drew the snake card 3 days in a row. And I was asking different questions each day, though they were all along the same lines, like around a theme for my business. But this was the response every single time. Snake, shed old skin. And to go deeper, I'm just going to read what the full description of this card is. I'm just going to skip to the extended message. The energy of renewal is washing over your life at this time. If for some reason you feel that your true self hasn't been recognized, or you've been misread by others, know this energy is now leaving you. As you've been working through your old stories and all of the self-limiting beliefs that you've accumulated along the way, you've been pulling away a shield of skin that has created limiting experiences. Your own personal commitment to growth has been recognized, and now the external world will begin to reflect all of the work that you've been doing within. Oh, that just really feels pretty damn good to get 3 days in a row. And that what struck me so much in reappearing for those 3 days straight, and then being combined with a message like the Satya from the Yogic Path deck, that I had to ask my friends to weigh in. I mean, calling all Oracle card junkies, what does this mean to you? I'm just curious. And I got some great feedback on this one. And one friend in particular asked me to recall my intuitive impressions each time I pulled that card. She said, you know what it means if you really listen. And that whatever interpretation you come up with, it's a powerful place to be. And that is the point of all of this. Any sign that you ask for or just happen to receive in what seems like a random moment, though I know there are no accidents, keep the advice that my friend gave me in mind. Keep that advice in mind. Whatever interpretation you come up with, it's a powerful place to be. Oh, yes. I told her that my immediate intuitive hits revealed inner child and shadow work. Those two things can overlap for sure. But I think for me specifically, I need to apply some separation there, and it's not all going to be fun, but peeling back those layers is going to eventually result in feeling lighter and freer. I know this. It's about doing the work, and I am doing the work. Finally, another place to look for signs is to the heavens. I remember telling my soul coach, who is also an astrologist, Tsiba, she's been on this podcast before. I remember telling her last year that I was finding myself so drawn to the moon. Like when it is in certain cycles and its trajectory hits right in the center of my bedroom windows, I will just wake up in the early morning hours, like 2, 3 a.m., and moon gaze from my bed. It feels so good. Like that's what I'm supposed to be doing in that moment. Visiting with the moon. And when I told her that, she asked me, have you tried talking to it? And I thought, well, how does that work? How does one talk to the moon? My mind just jumps right in thinking that I need to know all the things first. Like, is there a certification or training program for that? I don't know. How does one qualify? And she never told me how. She just kind of laughed. And that was her version of response, like my other friend gave me about the snake card. Tsiba didn't have to say it, but what I knew at the time was that I already know that whatever interpretation I come up with is a powerful place to be. That works with planetary alignment, the sun, the moon, and the stars as well. When you start peeling off those layers and shedding the old and unnecessary skin, representing everything the world around you has told you about what is right and wrong, you just get to be with your own inner knowing. Hello? That was just another download. I didn't consult any books to get that. It just came to me. And it feels right and true for me in this moment. That is the knowing that I am talking about. So This morning's 3 a.m. conversation with the moon, which is a full wolf moon on the night of this recording. So it's big and bright and wonderful. That conversation went something like this. First, I asked the moon to just bathe me in positive energy. I did. Then I asked the moon to show me what I needed to do. And then this happened. As soon as I asked that, a shadow appeared over part of the moon. A freaking shadow. I had a full view of the moon. There was no cloud cover. So I raised my head to try to see where that shadow was coming from, and it kind of looked like it was coming from the trees out back that line the creek, that same area where I saw the hawk a few hours later after I was actually up and out of bed. It was hard to make out what exactly was casting it, but there was a shadow over part of the moon just in that moment that I asked what I needed to do. Message received. Shadow work it is. As Rumi says, there is a voice that doesn't use words. Listen. That is what I am giving you here today. Some of the ways that I use to connect without words. Only humans use language in terms of the written or spoken word. There are ways to communicate with source energy, with God, Creator, the universe, if you are open to receive them and if you can see the signs. This is not as hard as you might be making it. We are all capable of this. We are eternal spiritual beings having a temporary human experience. Our souls asked for this human experience, and many of us have forgotten how powerful we are. We don't have to read a ton of books or go to school or do a ton of research to ask for and receive a sign. Yes, of course, sometimes I ask my friends for their interpretation and feedback. That's why I've shared here that I will do that occasionally. It's really no different than asking advice about which outfit to wear. We often ask for feedback from our friends. I just want you to be aware that you can also ask for feedback from source. It is a very powerful thing to practice. And when you receive your sign, say, thank you. Message received. And then go about the business of doing the work. If you would like some help in doing the work, in peeling back the layers so that you can shed that old skin that is weighing you down, then I am here for you, right alongside you. I will drop the link to schedule a free session with me in show notes and would be honored to be your guide. I hope you enjoyed receiving today's message as much as I've enjoyed sharing it. This is my truth and my authenticity. This is me lit up. Now it's your turn to light up and shine on.